Jason Aaron, Federico Vincentini, and Ed McGuinness shift focus onto the Speedster of the Squadron Supreme as Blur battles his arch nemesis Silver Witch, who steals the Speedster's soul and forces him into a life and death race for it. Jason Aaron continues his trend of using each of the main Heroes Reborn issues to focus on a certain member from the Squadron Supreme, as well as continue being a homage to DC Comics and its characters, this time with the Flash stand-in Blur, wonderfully combining elements from several heroes like Doctor Strange, Ghost Rider, Iron Fist, and many more to craft a thrilling, fittingly fast-paced storyline. I liked that Aaron was taking on the age-old Flash trope of him always finding a grounding rod, quote-unquote, or something that will help him push past and beat the villain. And here it's used perfectly and kind of satirized slightly, especially with Blur knowing that it is actually a tactic of his and one he can't use all the time, otherwise people, both us readers and villains, will get wise to it. Much like the previous issues, there wasn't all too much push on the main reality-changing storyline. There were hints throughout Blur's story, and the backstory is dedicated to Echo and Blade assembling more of the team to sort it out, but I just think it's a little weird and a little kind of interesting that what should be the main story, this whole investigating an alternate timeline, is actually the backup story, and the background story, which would be, you know, an origin of the Blur and like what he's up to, is the main story. It's quite a unique reverse and kind of fitting for the whole Heroes Reborn premise. Federico Vincentini and Ed McGuinness continue the event's great world building with some really fantastic looking artwork and action. I love Vincentini brought back all of the kinetic and fast-paced feelings he had on Amazing Spider-Man recently here in this book, since it never sat still for very long, very fitting for Stanley Stewart, while McGuinness continues his great looking bold artwork for the Avengers assembling backups, doing some really lovely pages featuring Echo and her Phoenix fire powers. Heroes Reborn issue 3 was filled with more great world building and exploration of this alternate reality, continuing to be a homage to DC Comics and their characters like the Flash, while slowly building up what exactly has happened to the Marvel Universe for it to be like this. I'm going to give this issue a 9 out of 10. Heroes Reborn issue 3 finds Stanley Stewart watching all 48 of his TVs at once, knowing sometimes he laughs so hard while watching the dozens of channels from all dimensions that he vibrates through his chair. Soon he lines up a bunch of dates with the 14 women he was talking to while playing some video games, and he knows he never really has any time to relax, since his work keeps him on the run. Blur finds himself battling Ursa Major and his evolved man-eating bears in Grizzly City. He wonders if this adventure has happened yet, since he's always forgetting the year, and if this is the right present. He knows all of it started in Washington DC when he was fighting Silver Witch, who chases the Speedster, knowing if only one of her high-speed hexes hits him, it will finally be over and she'll get her revenge. Blur doesn't take her seriously, live streaming the battle and recapping what happened with the villain, telling people that they need to go and watch the Squadron versus the X-Men video he made, since it talks about how she blames her brother's death on him. He tells people to comment as one of the witch's spells soon hit him, taking his soul from his body. Blur soon is told to wake up by Silver Witch, who tells him to stand up since he's going to die how her brother died, on his feet and screaming. Blur is dragged into the Dread Dimension, a place that can turn people mad after just a peek. He soon sees some mindless ones set upon him, quickly racing around and taking them down before they have a chance to get him. Speeding through the dimension, Blur knows that the witch is fast, but he once raced Death in her Infinity Chopper to one end of the multiverse to the other and outran microscopic Ultrons through Hyperion's intestines, and even stopped Doom 2099 and his time sled from destroying American history. Blur soon gets an idea, vibrating himself out of sync with time, making himself go back through his own timeline, finding himself re-racing some of his greatest showdowns like Johnny Blaze, the Speedster of Vengeance known as the Ghost Runner. After beating the Runner, he takes a power nap in the 33rd century for a few years before returning to what he was meant to be doing, running, racing Silver Witch, catching her off guard as she knows something has changed in the blink of an eye. Blur says that he was doing some time tearing so he could skip ahead to when he defeats her. He tries to grab his soul, but the woman stays ahead of him, saying a soul shouldn't be easy to pry from its body, meaning Blur is unnatural and shouldn't exist. Using her powers, Silver Witch takes Blur's speed, wanting him to die slow. Blur tries to run after the woman but finds he has no power, thinking this might be the mile that finally kills him. He remembers years ago in Kamatage where the Ancient One says that Stanley came to him to control his newfound powers before it drives him mad, and the mystic arts are the answer he seeks since Vishanti granted him these powers. Stanley speeds around, saying he's read every book on magic he could find and now he knows it all, but now he wonders how he's going to sleep when he hasn't slept in months thanks to the powers. The Ancient One wants him to sit down and look at a flower, so Stanley does so, but he asks how long he'll have to do this, and the Ancient One says it may take a very long time for him. Blur continues chasing Silver Witch, but knows he can't win some races by running, and it took him a long time to figure that out. He knows after 16 days the flower finally began showing him what he needed, and while he has the attention span of a hummingbird on meth, he knows what it is to see with all the focus of all their eyes. The flower activates Stanley's third eye and allows him to see the life racing past him just beyond his doors of perception. He uses this power to see the different creatures in the dimension and get their help, using a wraith whale to chase after Silver Witch, saying the whales are usually peaceful, but he on the other hand isn't. Blur gets his soul back and takes Silver Witch to Ravencroft as the woman shouts about the world being insane. Blur gets his speed back, beginning to stretch, knowing that he can't always use the look at the flower lesson since it catches people by surprise, but soon they could get used to it. He talks about how when he saw beyond everything, he saw the cracks in everything and in the way the reality was built, almost like it wasn't real. He puts the thought from his mind as he races off against yet another one of his villains. In Ravencroft, the crazed killer Bullseye wonders if maybe he could kill the helpless man in front of him with just his tooth. A rat soon runs towards them, and the villain thinks he's got an audience, but the rat catches on fire, setting the villain on fire as well. He dives under a nearby shower as a voice says that they don't know how they got into Ravencroft or why they are there, but they've been doing their best to keep the murderers and madmen in line, even though their greatest fear is that they have become like them and are already the worst of the lot. The being is revealed to be the Phoenix Force-powered Echo, who plays her flaming piano into the night sky on the roof, knowing that she is now but an echo of what her reality should be, hoping that she didn't burn it to cinders on her first day as the Phoenix. She knows it's no coincidence that she got the Phoenix powers when she did, and then she woke up and reality was gone and was remade overnight. She again wonders if the world is gone because of these powers she has, knowing that she could have left the asylum and touched the stars if she wanted to, but she doesn't want to since that's what the Phoenix would want. Soon she hears someone sneaking up on her, knowing that they should have done so without the stale blood aftershave. Blade appears from the shadows along with Captain America, who says that Echo's powers frighten him, especially when they are in the hands of someone new to the powers like her. Blade knows they need her powers to destroy the reality and burn it down and bring the world that they are from back. Steve asks if Maya is ready to join their team, as Echo knows that she doesn't know what's real anymore, but she's about to tell this hero yes, with all the fire in her heart.